Here's what you need to know about GMOs, aka genetically modified organisms. Research indicates that GMOs may cause genetic changes, allergies, and other serious harm to your health.
How nervous do you need to be about GMOs? Let's first talk about the idea that GMOs can change your DNA. On a daily basis, humans consume between 0.1 and 1 gram of DNA. And there is no evidence that the DNA from GMO foods is any more likely to integrate itself into your DNA than the DNA from the foods that are non-genetically modified. In fact, it's essentially impossible for any food to actually change your DNA. It has been posited that genetically modified foods may increase one's susceptibility to allergies, because if they're adding in a protein that you may be allergic to, you may not be allergic to the non-genetically modified version, but after the inclusion of a gene that encodes for a specific protein that you personally have an allergy to, you may become allergic to the genetically modified version. With that being said, there's no persuasive data indicating that genetically modified foods are any more allergenic than non-genetically modified foods. And we have no published evidence of allergic reactions to any genetically modified proteins over the last 14 years of GMO consumption. Let's just take a brief look at some of the GMOs that have been implemented into our society. Papayas have been genetically modified to be resistant to ring spot virus. Without this genetic modification, the papaya industry would have essentially collapsed. And it's posited that this introduction single-handedly saved the papaya industry. Many foods in the US, including corn, are Bt GMOs. They produce a protein shortened to Bt that has the capacity to kill insects that try and consume it. Importantly, in the form that it is contained inside of plants, it is not toxic. When it enters into a gut's intestinal tract, it is converted into a different protein that is toxic. Very importantly, this requires an alkaline pH, which insects have but humans do not. It also requires a specific enzyme that humans do not contain. Therefore, our stomach simply degrades this protein and it is not toxic to humans. The other broad subclass of genetic modifications are Roundup Ready crops. This is a genetic modification that allows specific crops to be resistant to glyphosate, so that the use of glyphosate does not destroy the crop. Importantly, this could drive farmers to use more glyphosate and other pesticides on their crops. And this is thought to be one of the downfalls of genetic modification, if it does increase the use of pesticides. With that being said, when we actually look at it, the use of GMO technology has reduced chemical pesticide use by 37%, increased crop yields by 22%, and increased farmer profits by 68%. So in the grand scheme of things, the use of genetic modification doesn't appear to increase our use and consumption of pesticides. But specific crops may have an increased use of pesticides. Other examples include potatoes, in which they are resistant to potato beetle and blight. They have reduced acrylamide content, a toxin that does appear to be carcinogenic, meaning this reduction is an extremely beneficial adaptation, and modified starch content, in which these potatoes no longer produce a protein called amylose, which can degrade the potato crop and used to be removed with a chemical pretreatment. But this is no longer required because we have knocked out the gene that synthesizes amylose. We also have GMO apples that are now non-browning apples, in which we have reduced the activity of an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase, which causes the browning process in apples. Stopping apples from browning reduces the amount that rots and likely increases our consumption of apples because we are throwing away much less of them. And our apples are staying fresh for longer, incentivizing us to buy more of them. The last and probably most beneficial GMO crop is golden rice, a rice that was genetically engineered to produce vitamin A, and has been demonstrated multiple times to be able to effectively control vitamin A deficiency and save many people from chronic diseases and even death. There are many benefits to genetic modification, including reducing pesticide use, increasing crop yields, and increasing farmer profit, which I believe these farmers truly deserve. I will be completely transparent and say that in the future, I would like to see more studies on the use and the safety of Roundup Ready crops, and whether or not, in the long run, this increases or decreases our consumption of glyphosate. However, we have lots of data indicating that the consumption of genetically modified conventional fruits and vegetables saves far more lives and far more people from chronic diseases than the small increase in pesticide consumption. For example, increasing fruit and vegetable intake would save approximately 20 cancer cases per year, but the increased pesticide consumption may actually induce approximately 10, meaning that this increase in fruit and vegetable intake would save approximately 19,990 people from developing breast cancer. With that being said, GMOs are not going to change your DNA, because that process is not physiologically possible, and there isn't any strong evidence indicating that they are more allergenic than non-GMO crops. With that being said, all in all, I hope you found this video interesting, and hopefully it inspired you to do a little bit more of your own research on the subject. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.